Right, we're Southam, you ready, mate?
After a few technical issues, I'm here. I'm good to go. I'm nicely poised for this. Yeah.
What do you mean?
I'm waiting for the picture of your home job. Well, you meant to send me through.
I'm going to
Where
send
is
it through to you, boys. I've literally been trying to set. So yeah, everybody's missed the last. How 25 minutes we've spent trying to sort this out so far. But we're nearly there. All right.
Well, we're
let's crack
actually
on.
supposed to be finishing now. If Durbo he had a coffee date.
I did actually. I had a couple of brews this morning, so I'd postpone the podcast by 45 minutes. So I'm really ready to go. I actually slept in till about now. Yeah.
What? No, you didn't.
There's no way I did. I was up at 6.
Why?
Because my son was up at 6.
Oh, yeah, right. Fair enough. Not my choice.
No.
Boys, good to see your face again. We're back again. Don't you think the months go pretty quick?
Definitely.
Let's introduce the show before we get into it. This is the Race Communiqué. We are at our 3rd episode. I am joined by, of course, my 2 guests.
2 random guests.
Co-hosts and still loosely mates, I guess we are. Tom Southam, Sports Director at EF Easy Post, and Luke Durbridge from Jaco Alula, sitting it out at the moment. Boys, welcome in.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for being finally acknowledged as a host.
This is Life in the Peloton, brought to you by our major partner, MAP. But this episode, this whole series is being exclusively brought to you by Training Peaks. And we've been talking about Training Peaks the last few weeks. Whether you're an elite athlete, a cycling coach, or you're new to the sport, you can get the tools you need to reach your goals with Training Peaks. That's what we use throughout our whole career. Southam uses it as a director sportif. They use it in all the WorldTour teams. They've created the world's most powerful athlete and coaching software to help you streamline your planning, analyze your data, and track all your progress. But excitingly, this is pretty epic, actually. These guys have gone away and created Training Peaks Virtual, the newest virtual indoor training platform. Something that we all used a lot in lockdown. I know everyone used, I wasn't using Training Peaks Virtual because it didn't exist then, but we were on the trainer, Durbo. You and I were chatting on the trainer, trying to keep it really normal, calling each other up, doing races, trying to organize tactics. I actually got pretty into it for those few months. Not so much these days, but it still has a time and a place when you're not a pro to get the Ks in. And this is really cool because the best thing about Training Peaks being involved with this is that they seamlessly integrate the Training Peaks plans, analytics for you so you can do the targeted training. So previously,
what is the big difference between Zwift and... Because, I mean, obviously Zwift is the one we know of. It's been around for a while, but what is the difference?
Well, it's a little bit more real. So Zwift, as good as it is, it's a little bit like a game. Well, it's actually like a game. You know, they've got the coloured wheels and you got your power-ups and, you know, you're riding sometimes through like, you know, a land that doesn't really exist. And I guess that's got its features if that's what you want. But actually the transition then back to the road is further. And if you're using indoor training to sort of promote what you're doing out on the road, which is what I do, I don't live for the indoor training. I use it as a tool. Training Peaks is closer to real riding because the Training Peaks Virtual, because they've got better drafting. You can actually get more realistic experiences. You can have wind direction as well. And like I said, your training actually gets more integrated into the system. So all your plans and everything on your Training Peaks can be integrated straight across.
I'm just starting my rebuild on the Ergo, so I might have to get an account.
Yeah, you're going to get used to it, though. It's actually a huge step, though, isn't it? If you think about, it's like much more realistic. Because to me, Zwift is like it's a game, you know. And guys do it because it's the next best thing between riding and staring at a garage wall, which we used to do, and now. But then I guess this is the next step in the right direction of like, okay, let's be a bit serious about this, and you know, you can't speed up and have magic wheels and stuff.
And look, when you don't get everything for free in the real world, you have to pay for stuff, which I'm finding out. Found out the hard way when I thought I was still getting my Training Peaks paid for by EF, and actually I was still just paying for it. But one of the best features is because when you get Training Peaks Premium, which is $125 a year, you get the Training Peaks Virtual included. So that's all bundled up in the package. So you've got the whole platform of Training Peaks with all your training on it and all the benefits of having the analytics there. Plus, you get free virtual training as well. So when you want to just go bang for buck, get the combo. Like if you're going to go out and get Zwift or Ruvi or whatever those other ones are, which that's like $20 a month or something like that, then you're going to have your Training Peaks account on top of that. It just doesn't make any sense. Plus, Life in the Peloton /LITP, an extra 20% off as well. So we're talking like practically free.
What's that? I'm just writing that code down now. Hold up. Sweet.
When you retire.
Well, funny stories. Like I actually logged on to do Zwift because for people out there, I broke my collarbone in Paris-Nice, so I'm starting to do my rebuild now on the ergo. And you know, like athletes just think everything's for free. I just log onto my Zwift account. Haven't used it since COVID, and it's just like try it now for $29 a month. I'm like, what? My account's been cut. I'm like, I thought we were sponsored by Zwift, and then I contact the team like, no, we're not sponsored by Zwift anymore. And I'm like, so am I going to have to pay for this? So then I was like, the amount of money I spend on everything else, you know, in Australia, I go for coffee is like $12 every time we go down to coffee. But I'm like, nah, not paying $29. Just not doing it. I guess I'm looking at the wall. I'm looking at the wall then.
That's also because you're a pro, and we're all tight asses when you're a pro.
Yeah. So
the thing is now you've got a premium account. Yeah, but you've got a premium account, so you'll be able to get it free. Plus, it's free for the end of March, so you've got 6 more days to try it out. Then you can get it for free officially. So go and give it a shot.
I will. Test dummy right here.
We'll hear about it next month. The weather's too good here for me to get on indoors. I want to hear, you can test it all out and let me know how it's all going. By the time we speak next month, you'll be flying by then. You'll be getting ready for Roubaix doing a Hayman.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if it's the first time here, what we do is I run through a bit of racing. Durbo tells us what's the word on the street in Pelo Chat, in the Pelo. And Tom breaks down what is going on in the races with tactics and helps us understand why people do certain things. First off the rank, we got to talk about it, boys, as if we weren't going to talk about it, but San Remo, probably the best edition I've ever watched.
Do you reckon? Best ever? Yeah.
For me, I was trying to think because I was commentating at SBS, and I thought I'd be good when it's a bit of a low-key race that maybe I'll talk about, you know, your favourite races or whatever. And I was talking to Simon Gerrans going on air. I said, have you got one in the bank? And he was like, maybe the one where Oscar Ferrer took it off Zabel. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good addition. I didn't mind Guerrero's victory because he played it so cool. In Cancellara's wheel, I was just like, that guy is just like, he's like ice. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
And not many people do it since actually do that sit on, you know, like not many people just play the game, like properly play the game. Like I'm going to lose this bike race, you know?
It was like, you never know would be in that position ever again. But like, how could you be so cool, calm and collected in that moment?
Like it's not even Guerrero had been on the podium before. So like, say for example, like Matthews has been like top 5 like a million times. He's just like, okay, I've been second a million times. I'm going to sit here and just take the risk. But he'd never even been second before. And then he's just like, nah.
How many times do you reckon he's ridden it? I was like, he's probably ridden it 5 or 6, maybe 10 times.
Don't know.
Don't tell me it's like 3 or 4.
3.
Whoa.
He rode it once before that.
Unbelievable.
He won it on his second time, and he did it once after 2013. And you know why he didn't ride it again after 2013?
Crap.
That was that epic edition.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Freezing snow and stuff.
Yeah, I was there.
Racing the 8.
Yeah.
Because he had the number 1 on his back, he felt like this real, like, you know, pressure and sort of responsibility to do, you know, get out of the bus and actually finish the race decently that day. He said if it wasn't for that, there's no way he would have got out of the bus.
Man, it was the reason I reckon this San Remo was so good was because it broke the script. Like someone sort of goes away on the final climb on the Poggio, or someone, on the descent gets away like Mahoric, but like no one ever goes. No one's ever been able to go from the Cipressa, like recent history in my memory. And it was just like, that's why I liked it so much. It was like, it actually, like everyone's saying Poggy's going to do this, but his last 3 years he's been trying to break it on the Cipressa, like put pressure on, go faster. He just never really does it. And then this time it was just like, it was just like incredible.
My question is, he got caught out of position before the bottom of the Cipressa. I never saw what actually happened there. And then Narvaez, he had to actually do half of his effort to get him back to the front while Wellens was ripping on the bottom of the Cipressa. So I would have loved to have seen if they had a perfect run in with the full squad, because I don't know what happened to Del Toro either. He just disappeared. He finished like, I think 13th or something like that, but didn't really do the massive pull that we were expecting. Narvaez did the massive pull, and ultimately then we saw Pogacar go. I didn't expect Van der Poel to be that good, to be able to follow all those attacks. But on the flip side, did Pog ever really get to put a proper attack in? It just seemed like a whole lot of so many attacks, I don't know. What's your thoughts, you guys?
I thought he was like he was constantly fading, right? So the first one was the best move, but then everyone was fresh, and like you said, he had just come up, because that one was like, if you see what happens to Romain Gregoire in the wheel, like it looks like, okay, yeah, they're going fast, but then you see like this guy has just won Ardèche. He's been on form all the start of the year. He was in exactly the right spot, and when they're going, he just goes, and like that was like unbelievable the speed they were going on the Cipressa there. And then later on, I felt like they were just, like everybody said, it's like just weakening, and getting less and less and less and less. And then, yeah.
It's something that
I feel like,
I was about to say, Durbo, it's something that you pointed out to me, is that, because like ultimately everyone else should be getting weakening as well, because he's attacking their following. But Durbo said to me, we were speaking just before, he goes, the climbs just aren't steep enough. You get too much of a sit. So him attacking, those guys were getting that much of a sit behind.
For sure, 5%. There's nothing really more than that, I think, on both of those climbs. And it's just not enough for, I don't reckon, World Tour level to Poggy to sort of get the advantage over, especially like bigger guys like Van der Poel and Ganna, both like heavier. Like as soon as you go on like 10%, Poggy's gone, but because it was at 5, not like they get heaps of draft, but like that sort of weight carry on the 5% is sort of enough to make a big advantage. But like I felt like Poggy, like he did what he'd planned to do, but it's funny that he did what he planned to do and it's like it backfired, so it's like one of those ones is like, okay, he's been working on this plan for 3 years. As long as they go hard enough at Cipressa, I've got this. But he still doesn't have this. And it's like, well, maybe you actually do that on the Poggio. And like you said, Tom, his first attack was the best, and it was probably the most chance of him dropping everyone else. I mean, it's a risk to wait to the Poggio, but like if they go that fast up there, then and then he gets over the top, and there's not enough time. Like there's that point, like there was a recovery for Van der Poel, recovery for Ganna, and then they all sort of got down to a point. But it's like, okay, well that tactic actually doesn't work.
I was going to say, what if he actually did that attack on the 8% bit on the Poggio, where it's decently steep, and they drilled it to there? But yeah, Tom, what were you going to say?
It was giving himself as much road as possible that goes uphill to attack. Like, so if you go from where he went on Cipressa, you have all of the Poggio, whereas if you wait half the Poggio, you're just running out of road so fast. Even if that, because he's tried to go there and he hasn't got the gap. And I get what you're saying, but I feel like they just tried to go, okay, well, go there, see who's with you, because he's also fast. If it wasn't Van der Poel, if it was somebody else, he's going to actually beat him in a sprint. He looked around and went, okay, I've got Van der Poel with me. I'm not going to worry about Ganna. I have to basically hammer him so much that I can crack him. And that was it. And then Van der Poel outplayed him by going, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to let Ganna come back as many times as I need. I'm going to do what I need to do. Because if he had been a little bit more nervous and had ridden a bit more, then Pogacar gone again, he could have killed himself. But he was just ice cold. He was like as cool as, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to do what I've got to do. And I'm going to win from here. Or I'm going to win when they catch us from behind. Like, once he was on the climbs, that was what he was doing.
What about his attack at the top? Was that just pure like arrogance? Just like, you know what? I'm going to put one in myself.
It was kind of like,
cool.
Stop, enough, Poggy. I'm clearly stronger than you right now, so stop it. Stop it.
What about my only other thought was a bit more heat on the capos.
They're just not steep enough, man. Like, it's the bunch is wide, too many big guys still. I just really think like I've been on the Kappas when they have done that, like previous years, like last year they did the same. And it's a big road. It's not technical. Like on the Cipressa and the Poggio, you've got a couple of switchbacks where you can really just give that like yo-yo effect, but there's no switchbacks on the Kappas that are going to even do anything to the Peloton. So everyone's just going to roll in this big V and just get protected the whole way up, you know? So it's like like attacking on a highway drag or like a, you know, like a Motorola or something like that. It's like, it's a big difference, you know? You get a little sit and the bigger guys can tuck in. So, I mean, the biggest question for us is like, how's he going to win it? Like, he's going to keep going until he wins it. It's just like, okay, the year that Van der Poel doesn't turn up because at the end of the day, if Van der Poel didn't turn up in the shape he was in, he was dropping Ganna and he was going solo to the finish.
It's true. But like, speaking about Ganna.
Yeah, but Ganna beat him in the final, but Ganna got dropped and Poggy would have gone solo to the line, you know? So, in the end, Ganna did beat him, yes, but it's only because, like Tom, you said, Van der Poel played a good game. Ganna would come back because Poggy's stopped because another guy on the wheel.
Who's your ride of the day then?
I mean, it's hard to get past Van der Poel. I mean, it was just like one
race. He did quite well, didn't he?
What did he do?
I don't know. Like I rated it. Like, it's kind of like, you do your Grand Tour thing. You just leave those one-day races to me, mate.
But like, even Van der Poel's sprint, I was going to say, like, it was far. It was long. And, you know, he went and I was like, oh, he's gone too early.
But what was Poggy doing? Why did he leave? Like, Poggy's not like as far as Van der Poel, and he just like
he was laying off
5 lengths, maybe even more, on the other side of the road. And I was just thinking, like, and Van der Poel just looked back. He's like, "Are you joking?" And just started sprinting and went. I was like, "What the fuck?"
But
I mean, I've been really critical because obviously it's a really hard situation. But like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. All right. Who surprised? Who like surprised, good or bad for you guys? You don't have to do one or the other, but who just surprised you when you look at the race?
I mean, there wasn't many people in the race after, you know, that like after that had gone, like the group behind the rest, you kind of look at it and go, you can throw a towel over it, you know? It's like the first 3 were so good and so far ahead, and everybody else was in a group of 30 or whatever, you know?
My surprise was Mads Pedersen. I thought he would be able to hang on if Ganna could. Like the way he was climbing at Paris-Nice, I just thought he would have, if Ganna could be there, I thought he would have been there.
Yeah, I guess so. But Ganna was second in Torino. He's gone to another level of GC climber right now. Like Mads Pedersen wasn't second in Paris-Nice. So it's like, I know he was very good, but like, yeah, I don't know. Ganna was insane. Like, man, this guy's like 85 kilos. Like, it's absurd what he's doing at the moment. It's incredible.
You seen his file?
It scare me. I'd be like, ah! What's that? What is that?
Did anyone disappoint for you guys?
Well, I mean, I guess Del Toro running his own gig, something to ask about.
He's written there for me. He was my disappointment, Del Toro. I don't know if Matthew's disappointed, but I was disappointed for him. I feel like
I don't think Blink's going to be in those 3, but it's incredible how he can still run like 4th. Like it's the stats on that guy in San Remo is just like it's incredible. And Caden Groves, big ride,
Yeah.
5th, first ever San Remo.
Hmm.
You know, that's a nice ride. Obviously, didn't have to do anything because Van der Poel was up the front, but
still to get over there.
Yeah.
Your mate Pissy, Mitch, binned it, right?
He did bin it. Yeah, he got squeezed. He looked like he overlapped the wheel. I'm due to actually catch up with Pithy in the morning, so to get the lowdown. But he was one of the protected men from there, and he got
He
sort
was
of
one of the good ones, yeah.
Yeah, on the cap. He came back though and was pulling, so he's okay. He's going to have a big Cobblestone Classics. Speaking of which, we are on the eve of the cobbles. Unless you guys want anything else to say about San Remo. Yep. Southam.
Magnus Court. Never performed like that before in a one day.
No, that's
Did a good
true.
ride. I would actually
What was he
single
again?
him out and go.
Was he sixth or
seventh?
Yeah, he was sixth. Top 10 was Ganna, Pog, Matthews, Groves, Court, Pedersen, Coy, Trentin. Where's he come from? Then you got Fred Wright, Tunison as well. Corbin Strong, Del Toro. That's top 13 actually.
Trentin was actually the 4th guy to get dropped from that quartet. He was alone after the Cipressa. So, like, they caught him before the Poggio. He sat up. So, he was in some sweet shape. Like, he obviously was thereabouts, got hooped, but then still was, like, chasing them along the flat after the Cipressa. So, it's like, it's a big ride with him.
Massive ride. Cobbles, Durbo, as you already alluded to, you won't be there. I'm very saddened about that. Just before we get into that, what is the plan to come back? And you give us a quick rundown on the plan into Roubaix and the Hayman with the ladder and everything.
With my Training Peaks virtual account, no. At the moment, I think my first race back will be Frankfurt or Tour of Romandy in May. Like in the end, I think my first race back would potentially be Roubaix. So it's just a bit too short. Like that'll be exactly 6 weeks, which is when I'll be getting on the road, technically from what the surgeon says. So yeah, it's just not going to work. So at the end of the day, I broke my collarbone and 2 ribs, and like did a really good job on the collarbone, 5 pieces, 10 screws. So yeah, pretty solid. Now I've got matching sets, so 2 plates either side. That's my 4th collarbone actually in my career, so that wasn't fun. Nearly came through the skin. Not to make anyone sick at home, but yeah, so it was a solid one. I didn't really take any skin off. I just flipped over the handlebars and directly on. But saying that day, there was 4 collarbones broken in Paris-Nice on the same stage. Crazy.
Paris-Nice was a doozy this year.
It was a doozy. I was in the hospital with the guy from Caja Real, Seneschal from Arkea, and one else. Can't remember who else it was. But yeah, it was 4 guys all in the lobby with clavicle broken. So yeah, it was not a nice stage. Just one of those really filthy, wet, technical finishes. Anyway, it's a shame. It's a shame. Cobbles are over, but means I can be more of an analysis for you boys and we can chat about it.
It's going to be good to have you on that side of things and we can chat to it, but I will be sad not seeing you there because I always love looking out for you. One thing I want to quickly talk about, because we are on the way to the cobbles, but I don't want to dwell on it too much. Next race is E3 on Friday. And E3, it's an interesting one. It doesn't really get in outside of Belgium and outside the Pro Peloton. I don't think it really gets as much creds as it's due. It is a very, very hard race. 209K, Harelbeke back to Harelbeke. 17 climbs. Flanders, 16 climbs, 269K. So you've got 60K less and another climb. So we always say that it's essentially Flanders without the flat bit. But it's actually harder than that because you've got another climb in there. If anyone doesn't know, in Tour of Flanders, you start and you do a big sort of flat loop around before you get over to the Flandern sort of hill zone, because you start over in Brugge. Oh no, you don't start in Bruges anymore, do you? You start in.
No, we've gone back to Bruges now, so we do.
Oh right.
Yeah.
You start
in Antwerp for a while, and then we went back to Bruges.
Start in Bruges and you cruise across, and then hit the hills. Whereas E3, you go straight into the hills straight away. It's just brutal. E3, and I think the difference here to any other race is actually you really get a good insight to who's going to be good at Flanders. In E3, it's a real sort of it's a real test, pretty much the top 10 there. You're really going to see the top 10 in Flanders. And, the last few years we've seen, last year Van der Poel won, and then I think, Van Aert won the two editions before that, which brings me sort of to what you guys are thinking. Who's going to be good in the cobbles this year? Following E3, you've got a quick turnaround to Gent-Wevelgem, which is a completely different race, Durbo. You can comment on that. But my thought is, what is going on with Van Aert? We haven't seen much of him. And how is Jorgensen, pretty much the whole team Visma Lease Bike, going to come to the classics? I haven't seen much from Laporte as well. Just pretty much flying under the radar so far this year. Obviously, Jorgensen, backing up Paris-Nice victory, epic win there. He's incredible how he can do the combo. But I'm wondering whether he's slipping more into that GC. Can he come back to the cobbles and do what he did, a few years ago?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the thing is with Jumbo is that they've dominated opening weekend. They've come out and dominated E3 in previous years, even Gent-Wevelgem. It's kind of like you get to a point now where they're like, maybe they've had this plan, and I'm sure Jumbo would have thought about it, where it's like, okay, Flanders and Roubaix. So whatever we've got to do to get that Van Aert that turns up to E3, we're going to get that Van Aert that turns up to Flanders. I mean, this is just completely speculation, but it's like they've dominated Gent-Wevelgem. They've gone 1-2 to the line before. Van Aert's won E3 a couple of times. Like, I don't know about these big boys, like I'm talking like Pogacar, Van der Poel, Van Aert. They're sort of going around trying to tick off things that they haven't won. So, like, let's not do what we normally do. Let's just do something different to try and get a different result. So, I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. Jumbo's team is probably doesn't seem as strong for the Flanders Classics, but also they haven't really set their A team yet. Van Aert was not that great in opening weekend, but that was potentially on purpose. So, interesting.
I tend to agree with you there. I feel like, because I picked up criticism before, it's like, oh, these guys are always flying on opening weekend, but Van Aert's always done by Flanders, Roubaix. So they must have rethought, okay, we're going to come out later, take the criticism early on, because you can't win, right, if you're a team. Literally in the press, we've criticised them before for going too fast, too early, too good in those races, and now it's like, where are they? So, and I think you're right. I think Flanders Roubaix is the week they're going for.
Do we have any word on Van Baal after Down Under? Is he back? Because on the start list they've got Van Baal, Jorgensen, Van Aert, Benoot, Laporte. Is Van Baal back?
He crashed again somewhere.
Torino. He was in Torino. Yep. He did crash, but I think he's back.
Okay, because I think he crashed when he got back to Europe as well, because I saw him somewhere and I remember him crashing again and being like, not got much luck. So
no.
Yeah, I think I saw him in Torino.
What about, Durbo, just quickly, the difference between Gent-Wevelgem, because everyone's going to go into this weekend and see a couple of races. There is a big difference between the Flandern races and Gent-Wevelgem. It sort of sits out there on its own. Yes, there are cobbles in it, but there is a lot of crosswind riding, and it produces a completely different race, in my opinion. It's actually a breath of fresh air. I always liked going to Gent-Wevelgem for that reason. Help everyone understand, well, in your opinion, what's the differences between Gent-Wevelgem and, say, the Flandern races, the Warrigems, the E3s, and the Flanders? Oh, right.
He's frozen. He's very, very well.
He's not got no opinion. Okay, Derbs. Right. Oh, that's interesting. That is an interesting point, actually, Durbo.
That's one of the best points Durbo's made on this podcast, I would say. Finally, getting some sense out of him.
Everything went dead. What happened?
Oh, you made some really good points.
Yeah,
I
that's great.
I
No,
literally just
to sum it up, yeah, great.
as soon as you started talking, it just literally went circle of death and
You
everything
summed it up.
stopped. So.
You summed it up very well, mate. It is a quiet race, and you got to just have the poker face on. Should we talk some tactics? Do we want to throw any? Let's just throw like you don't just have to be a winner of your rider, because we're not going to speak until after the classics. Your rider of the classics. Who's it going to be? I'm going to go with a guy. I don't know if you've heard of him. I've just been researching him recently. He's a New Zealander called Lawrence Pithy.
Yeah, okay. We've heard that you like him. It's like you and Stevie Williams.
I'm going with Lawrence. He's going to have a good classics. He looked good at San Remo. Unfortunately, he crashed there, but he's been at altitude. Great season last year. I'm putting my Lawrence hat on.
I'm going to go with Caden Groves. So he's going to Catalunya now, which he's done well in before. Interesting load. So like he's probably going to come in the fittest out of some of the guys, but not fittest, but like probably come in with the biggest load. He's done San Remo. He does Catalunya, which not a lot of the classics guys do. And then he's going to do like a small amount of the classics. You know, he's going to do Dwars-Door. I think he's going to do Flanders, Roubaix, and maybe Gent-Wevelgem. So like not E3.
No, wait. So Catalunya starts when? Yesterday. Today. So he's had 1 day off, and then that's going to go till Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to have 2 days off. He's going to do Wevelgem. And then 3 days off in Flanders. Yeah, he's going to be fairly loaded.
Fairly loaded, but it's an interesting risk, but like potentially Caden does very, very well with huge amount of load. So
didn't you tell us, Southam, about who was it in the last one or the time before, the guy that did
Sean Kelly.
Sean Kelly. He's doing a Kelly.
Sort of Kelly. Yeah, so I'll be interested to see how it goes.
Flanders, Basque and Roubaix. That's it. Yeah.
Who's your rider, Southam, to wrap us up, to finish us up?
I'm going to go with not my rider, but like I'm going to go with Fred Wright coming back for a good classics campaign. So 10th the other day, he's been like, he was really good in the classics a couple of years ago, was a bit quiet, I think past 1 or 2 years. But obviously 10th the other day at San Remo, back on upwards trajectory with that.
Nice.
So,
like it.
Nice.
Fred.
All right, sweet. Well, hi guys, Pelo Chat this week. I'm back. I'm anti-freezed.
I love your intros are the best.
Hi guys. Hey, Pelo Chat. Welcome. So I thought I'd just ask some questions about super teams. Now, everyone says they've got the budget for a super team. Got a new sponsor coming in. They're going to be a super team. Just gets thrown around all the time in the media. And then you sort of like, well, what sort of becomes of it? What defines a super team? Like, is it just because they've got heaps of budget, or is it because they're like number one ranked in the world? Like, if you don't have a big budget but you're number one ranked in the world, does that mean you're a super team? Like, I don't really know. Like, it sounds like it's just around budget, to be honest, because Red Bull, Bora, Hansgrohe, because Red Bull's a great sponsor. All of a sudden, Red Bull, Bora, Hansgrohe is a super team, but like they don't win like a super team. So why are they a super team? And
can I interrupt? Is there anywhere where it's written? So is it now like Continental, Pro Conti, World Tour, and then Super Team? Is it written now?
Super Team minimum salary is €1 million a year. So
there you go. That's exactly it. So it's defined on your bank account. So now everyone's bank account's written on their top tube.
Yeah.
You find you're a super team or not? No, but we know one of the biggest things. Like I always find is like Quickstep, for example, have never been defined a super team, but they win more than anyone.
Not now, though.
No, well, still like Tim Malier, man. Tim Malier's won like
so
8 races already.
I was going through this earlier out of interest, like the win rates in the World Tour teams. It is like mind blowing how far ahead UAE are. UAE is on 19, right? Everybody else is on, like the next one I think is 10 or something, and then there's a 9, and then it's like 4, 3, like, and like there's a lot of, there's national champs in there. There's like the odd wins in, like, I think all of Arkea's 3 wins came from one race. So like the drop off in the win ratios between UAE and everyone else, even to Visma, is like 10 races, and not 10 small races, 10 big races.
Race. Yeah.
So it's like, when you look at Superteams, there's one that's
there's one actually at the moment. Yeah.
Way ahead.
I mean,
like
that's the
super
thing.
same.
UAE has sort of like, they was like UAE Jumbo, and then all of a sudden it's just gone, pretty much since Roglic left, I think. Like when Roglic left Jumbo, they just lost that 3-prong attack they had. Their years they won all 3 Grand Tours, and then like Sepp Kuss didn't have a great year the next year. Jonas crashed. Van Aert wasn't as good. And the next minute was just like, they're like not non-existent, and UAE have just gone bang. But like UAE is interesting because I would say Jumbo in general built a better team from what it looked like, how they did things. But then UAE just did like almost like threw money at the problem and bought up all the best riders. And but then it's funny because they're still the best team. But they are hands down the best team because they won the most races. But like, are they the best team? Like, I don't know. It's tricky because they just got heaps of hitters.
You mean, do they function inside as the best? Like, are they? Yeah. I mean, we don't know because like none of us are there, but like you certainly get an impression, don't you, from what you see around the races. The impression I've always had is just exactly what you said. It's like throwing money at the problem. What's the problem? We're a bit short of this, right? We'll have 10 people to do that. And it's like, I guess you do fix things by doing that, but like when there's no, and you don't have to, because that's where I think Sky were good, where even when they had loads of money, they knew how to spend it, right? And they were I feel like they were quite, not tight with it, but they were organized and structured, and money, like you didn't just like have all of this and all of that for no reason. Visma, again, like Dutch, so they'll be tight as, but like similar, but yeah. UAE is just like, it's got this kind of Italian, like, oh well, we'll just fix it with all this.
Just milk a little bit more money out, just we need it, just squeeze the teat, and next minute more milk.
I mean, but we don't know like what happens inside, operationally or organizationally or with coach and stuff, so we could be wrong, but
have you spoken to anyone, Durbo, that's written on there like closely about what it's like being on the team?
Well, this is where my next sort of point was going, was like, what happens when you join a super team, and is it actually better for that rider, or is it actually worse, or do you just take the money and forego potentially what you maybe would have won? Like I want to use an example of like, I spoke with a few guys that were workers there, say, for example, Ryan Gibbons. So Ryan Gibbons is UAE. He was at UAE. Very good rider. But then just got taken to races to ride the first 150K. Like he was doing Amstel Gold and he'd just ride the first 150K. Poggy would win the race. Sweet. Ryan Gibbons is part of UAE, so he won the race and he's on the bus celebrating because he rode the first 150K. But then you sort of got taken to all these other races around, and you're sort of thinking like, but Ryan Gibbons is probably better than riding the front for 150K. Like he's strong.
I wouldn't even say that he was a guy who rides. I thought he was like half fast.
Exactly. But like you get to a point, you start ranking the riders, like who's going to ride. You all of a sudden got a guy who can not win Amstel Gold, not a great example, but a guy who can win races maybe with another team. Be like, actually, well, you're probably the least strongest out of this squad. So you're going to ride? And you're like, I'm not a rider. But I'm like, well, next minute you've got Ryan Gibbons, fucking good rider, riding the front for the first bit of Amstel Gold. And you're like, it doesn't really make sense. But then he goes to Trek, and now he's like one of Mads Pedersen's guys, and he's he's deeper in the classics, and it's a great signing. But that's where a super team potentially doesn't work for a guy like that. But what I would...
On that note, I'm wondering whether, though, a move like for Gibbons is a good example that actually elevated his mentality to a new level. That when he came back, let's say back, it's not really back. He's Trek a super team. Let's say when he went sideways to Trek, he had a new opinion of himself, and people also had an opinion of him because he'd ridden on a super team. So he was elevated, and maybe he had the belief because other people had the belief in him, and now he sees himself as a player.
But I think like that's also good scouting by Trek and from teams that go, look, okay, there's a guy in UAE, which I think which will happen more and more now. There's a guy in UAE, he's just not getting the opportunity because he's, one under Pogacar or he's one under Yates or whatever, but he's really good. And then we start taking them away from the super team to give them their own opportunities and see if they'll perform. And it's kind of like what happened with Ineos or Sky back in the day. It was sort of like Walt Poels, for example, was amazing in Ineos, like one of the best domestiques actually for mountain domestiques in the world at the time. But then you'd like take him away and go to Bahrain. I'm not saying he did anything was bad, like he was good, but it was never like, you never really spoke about Walt Poels as much as you used to when he was on Sky, because coming off Walt Poels was Chris Froome and he was winning the Tour de France, or Richie Porte or whatever. But like a guy like Luke Rowe, Sky made him actually being a part of that super team. Maybe Luke Rowe would not generally have the career or the respect within the peloton if he wasn't on Ineos and Sky, because he rode 5 Tour de France for the best team. And I reckon Doman Novak, which Pogacar's sidekick, he's an amazing rider, but would he be an amazing rider when he was on Bahrain? You never really talked about him, but now he just goes to every race of Pogacar, does these amazing pulls, and like Doman Novak's like, he's on the road to be your next Luke Rowe because of what Poggy does after he leaves. When he gets off the front and Poggy goes, it's like, oh, Novak's so strong. Did you see what Novak did today? He rode 180k and put everyone to the sword. And then, but because Poggy won the race, it gives justification to the role.
But you could say the exact same thing about a lead out too in a sprint. When you could do the best lead out in the world, and if your sprinter comes off you and finishes, 6th, it won't get noticed. It might get noticed around the other lead out man. But you have a great sprinter and even a guy in front of you that sets you up even better. You do the 5 pedal strokes in the wind, and then your sprinter comes off, your Cavendish comes off you and wins, 2 hands, 5 bike lengths away. You are the best lead out man there is. And I think a guy like
works, it's really weird that, isn't it? Like the stats wise, it's like assists in a basketball game or something like that. Like unless they go in, no one's really talking about it.
Totally. What about, speaking of riding, what do you think of Dillier's ride?
Yeah, great ride. They won the race.
It was insane. He rode over 200k solo.
But I remember when Jos van Emden did it and Van Aert won. Jos van Emden rode the entire San Remo on the front, more or less, 200k, and then he won. So it was just like, it was for a reason, and then Dillier did what he did, and it's like, yeah, that's epic. But it's only epic because Van der Poel threw his hands in the air,
The guy was second at Paris-Roubaix, so he's got an engine. Let's be honest.
It's true.
He's not. It's like you're taking a guy there who's got the engine to do things at the end of a 270k race, and you've got him to ride the first part. So it was great what he did. It was made much greater by the fact they won. Because I was thinking when he was doing that, I'm like, if they don't win today, he's going to get on the bus and his teammates will be like, oh yeah, he did a great job. Nobody helped us. But I feel like, again, another thing I was thinking was, when you do have that situation, it motivates the leaders even more. Because you've been on the front all day, you're always in the game, your head's in it, and then you start to get the siege mentality of like, okay, fuck everybody else. Nobody's helped us. We're going to fuck them over. And it really pays off in the end. If you can get this us versus them thing going naturally, which you create in your head, that gives you a little stimulus to make things work even better.
Like we're the only ones in this bike race who actually want to win it, because we're actually, putting energy towards the victory. Everyone else is just here to lose it, and we're here to win it, which is, like you said, that's a great point.
You can use it. And what he did was amazing, but it's good.
Should we talk some tactics?
Let's talk some tactics, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's roll into it. I mean, I'm not actually going to talk specifically tactics yet again. I feel like we've been over that quite a bit. I was going to do a wildcard special, lads. So, coming up in 2 days, there is the big meeting about, which I think is extraordinary, but I want to get both your opinions on this, about allowing a third wildcard team into the Grand Tours. Which I believe is 26th March. That's going to go through the PCC and so on and so forth, which I think is just mind-blowing, like they could consider it. But I read an article about it, and there was quite a lot of opinions in the public that are quite different to mine. And I want to get both of your opinions on how you would see it, you know? So I guess, Mitch, an extra team in the Tour. Yes? No? Good idea?
As a fan, yes.
Because?
I just think it would just help to animate that long break, and you know, make it sort of a bit more exciting, you know, on those days, the sprint days where it's just sort of a nothing day and things like that, and I guess create a little bit more drama in a way, with some riders trying to, you know, less sort of orchestrated racing by the big World Tour teams, the super teams controlling the narrative of the story. I know it's probably not going to have that much of an impact, but another sort of wildcard team may just sort of go against the grain. Is my thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I picked up on a lot of people, like, in your position who are watching the races. And, yeah, I think it's no, it's just, it's
my people.
It's a valid opinion, but I don't think, yeah. I mean, like, on those days, do you get more out of seeing 3 people down the road or none? Do you know what I mean? Like, on the sprint days, for example.
What's the cons then?
The cons, I mean, are massive. Like, how can you have a promotion relegation system, right? We're basically battling to get into the Tour de France. You're fighting to get in it, and it's something we go on about because it's totally changed the lay of the land with cycling. Completely. It's changed my job. It's changed Durbo's job. It's changed the way the races go. And then you go 2 years or three years into the cycle, we're just going to add teams into what you've basically qualified for. So we've qualified to be in those races by getting enough points. And then the race organizer, like, they're just going, the UCI, like, it's staggering, and just going, yeah, okay, you come in. So you guys qualify for the Champions League, and then we're just going to add more teams.
There's a repechage round. Yeah.
It's just, it's blowing my mind that it can even be considered. And that's what Richard Plugger was saying. But that's what a lot of the sort of cycling fans were. They were more in line with, like, oh, yeah, but more teams is better because we get more action, which...
Are they only talking about giving an extra wildcard team to the Grand Tours?
All 3 Grand Tours.
Yeah, right.
I don't understand. Does that mean it adds more riders as well, Tom, to the Peloton?
Yeah.
Which is
that's
what
I thought you were going to say.
We worked on previous years was like, that's why we went from, 8 to 7 most World Tour races, and then 9 to 8 in Grand Tours, because like safety elements, and there's constant safety chat about reducing the size of the Peloton, which means a safer bunch, you know, that's et cetera, et cetera. But it seems strange to fully backflip it and just go straight back to what we were like for 5 years ago when we had more riders in the Peloton and bigger Pelotons. Like, I don't understand why they would do that. The only thing I can understand is that wildcards obviously pay the race organizer to get into the race. And it's like this highest bid, whoever sponsors or whatever. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but that's what from my novice understanding. So if you add another team, then it's another bid on top of what they already get. So yeah.
But imagine if the race organizer is paying a Pogacar to go to the race, which also happens, right? So there's like the big stars getting paid, and the team that's at the bottom is paying that rider to then beat them in the race. It's like, oh yeah, cool. Take our money. Can he beat us, please?
I really just can't see it changing anything at all. Like, if you think
it's just got to be to do with money. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be money because like you think about okay, we'd bring I don't know 3 wildcard teams like to a Grand Tours. Like I don't know, like, does it make the racing more exciting? 7 more guys? Like actually no, because in the day if you go into a Grand Tour and you don't like you're not like Pogacar, you don't have a key sprinter, and like you're just there to sort of go on the breakaways, like. It's not going to, the only thing is it's like, okay, for example, wildcard teams now could be like Tudor, which you're going to add Alaphilippe, and you got Q36, you got Pidcock. Like a few of these pro-continental teams have like huge stars, and like you always get the huge stars if you've got 3 teams. Like for example, like Q36 could potentially do all 3 Grand Tours if this thing comes about. Or Tudor, for example, gets Hershey at one, Alaphilippe at another,
It's just promoting exactly what Tom said, is that you don't need to be World Tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's irrelevant.
But the thing is, and this is where it gets interesting, it's like if you look at those teams, they're like, these teams are really good. And I don't want like anybody to think that I don't think they're good teams. Like they're great teams, there's great riders, they're well organized, they're on a good level. But doesn't there like become an argument at a certain point? It's like, well, at the moment there's too many, right? So maybe they're like the second tier doesn't really work. Because if you take the bottom end of the World Tour teams and the top end of the pro Conti teams, they're actually sort of close in terms of the value of performance and wins and so on and so forth. So maybe it needs to, I don't know, maybe it needs to change even further, and then you get less teams in like the super team league or whatever, like you were saying before, Durbo, and how you
top
get into that
only, for example, and then
you have you almost need like a different level of in the middle, because I feel like the ground's just moving so much, and we're stuck in this weird moment where they're trying to fix things with like solutions that are just, I will just stick one more in here. It's like you can't do that anymore.
I think it's going to get to a point where I think the athletes themselves are more important than the teams. So, for example, probably going to get to a point where they're going to go, well, we want Pogacar. So if UAE, you can come to the Tour de France if you're bringing Pogacar. If you're not bringing Pogacar, you're not coming. Like it's almost got to a point where it's like, you tell us who's coming, and then we'll see if you get a start or not. Like, because the race organisers are going to point, like they're putting on a show, and obviously the Giro want, Pogacar versus Remco versus this versus that. But then the tour is like, well, he's going to come to the tour and Jonas is going to come to the tour, so that's more exciting and more people are going to watch the tour. So it's probably going to get to the point where race organisers become picky about the guys they bring, and it's actually abolished the system. But it's
If you're a race organizer, you basically want to have as much freedom to choose whoever you want as possible, whether they're paying you or whether you just get to choose them. And the minute they don't have much choice, do they? They've got only 2 teams because Lotto and Israel go automatically. So they're trying to get more space to do that, but I don't think it's for the
benefit
right reasons.
Yeah.
No. Or it's really complicated. I just see things like this. It's like, there's so many angles to it, and it's just it's super complicated in there.
It's very interesting. I didn't really think I didn't even hear that was happening. So it's a good point you bring that up. Yeah.
I mean, I can't see it going through. We'll find out in a couple of days because we don't know, who's going to go. So, I mean, what I was going to do was give you a choice. You're the Tour de France organizer, Durbo. Which teams do you take? Go on, give us your 2 teams.
Wildcards.
Yeah,
2 or 3 teams.
2. You're going to have to do the same as well, Mitch. So start thinking about it, mate. This year.
Oh, Caharal, definitely.
Well, Kern Farmer, Welter last year.
Absolutely amazing Kern Farmer last year. Yeah, that was incredible. 4
races, 3 of them were stage of the
Yeah. And that guy's gone on to Simon Movistar, that Castrillo guy, and he's having a bloody good year so far. So it's good season. I would say for me, I can't. Uno X, 100%. Like the way those boys race, just like not even the stars on that team, just the way they race. Like, man, the Tour de France last year, they were like nailing lead outs. Didn't have the sprinter, but they're beasts, those guys, and they're just well drilled. They race well. They take up in the crosswind, things like that. Like I like to see them how they race the unit. Good team. And then my second team is going to be Tudor. Yeah.
Go with
Mm.
Alison.
Yeah,
Hershey.
I'm like a bit of a Hershey guy. Also, Michael Storer. Like Michael Storer, like he was 10th in the Giro last year, GC, won a stage of Paris-Nice. Just like, yeah, they're a really good team, good outfit. I know some of the directors there. Seaberg's there, a few guys. Like, they do a good job. So, yeah.
Nice. Mitch?
Well, I guess we don't really want us to double up, do we?
You can do whatever you want.
I really like Uno
by
X.
the way, boy.
No, I really like Uno X. I think that's a really good choice. And like Tudor's also a good choice, but I think Q36.5. I think I know it's an obvious choice, Pidcock's there, but I thought they rode well at San Remo too. Like they were at the front. Their riders weren't just like useless coming into the Cipressa. I haven't seen a whole lot more of them, but look, in Strada Bianchi, it was really the Pidcock show there, but that race is just out of control. So it's hard. There weren't many other teams there anyway. Actually, you guys, Valgren, how good did Valgren ride?
Oh, Lund broke his collarbone straight
Did
after.
he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, basically next race. He's on his way back. It was fixed quite quickly. He wasn't many days off the bike. He was back on the bike pretty soon. It was like quite a clean break. Yeah, it was a real shame, man.
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know a lot of pro conning teams off the top of my head like you guys do. But I think
Lotto DeLee.
Nah, no way. I would never. Not Lotto.
Fair.
I think just because of Pidcock, what he's shown already this year, it's exciting. He's really making the racing exciting. He's the only one who, matched him at Strada Bianchi, so that was cool, and he started the season well. And then I go Uno X.
Q36, to be fair to him, is like a real good case of a team signing only one rider and everybody else lifting their game, because those guys weren't racing like the rest of them, who are the same guys, weren't racing like that last year without him. And now you can see where they are in the bunch, the self-confidence they've got. Like, it's good.
Who'd you pick?
Both of you left Total Energies at home. So all of France is up in arms. It's a headline on the cover of L'Equipe. The race organisers, Mitch Docker, Luc Durbridge, leave out French Wildcard team, Jean-René Bernardot's team.
Yeah, we'd be pretty fucked, actually.
Yeah.
We're talking race organizer of Tour of Gippsland, aren't we? Or
no, the fourth Grand Tour, Southland.
Yeah. No, it was just an interesting exercise and thought that how you do it. I don't know, because it's complicated. You do have to leave someone behind at the moment, but that has to be the way that it is. So yeah, I don't know who I would take. Definitely Uno X, and probably go Tudor. Unfortunately, Q36, just in the depth of the riders so far. Even that Marco Brenner guy, I mean, he crashed early on, but he was going like super good.
Huller's there now as well, and a few other boys. Like, it's a good team.
You can see sometimes like there's pro conti teams that get momentum, and when they have it, it's like everything just starts going their way, and they start off by going in the breaks and trying to find a little bit of space and trying to find this and that.
Don't you reckon Tudor's got the feel of what BMC was with when Cadell went there? Like, it's that team building into something, and have you noticed Fabian's doing heaps of feeds as well? He's always at the feed zone handing bottles out.
Can't do that, man. He's not allowed to do that many feeds anymore, Mitch. So,
like, I've realistically only seen him twice, but that was in San Remo and in Strada Bianchi.
It's like when Madio does a feed, right? It's like he does a feed and everybody knows that Madio's done a feed because 50,000 cameras see him do it. So,
yeah, but I think it's good. It's good signings. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, you take like a guy like Trentin. He's like an older guy, and you easily think, okay, we'll sign him for a decent contract to lure him away from the World Tour. But that guy does like every single race is an opportunity, and you got an older guy like that who's like, Uno X Christoph. You think end of his career, maybe a bit older, not going to go for victories. Man, this guy's lining up any race to try and sprint for the win. So it's just like it's like trying to find that older guy who's still got like. Doesn't matter what race it is, rain, hail, or shine, and then that then teaches some of the young guys, like, oh, sweet, like this is important, like this is what we got to do, and then where to ride in the bunch or position. So it's really important, those older guy signings, I think.
Because it can go the opposite way when you get the older guy.
That's what I was,
100%.
He's just bitter, and tired, sore legs. I mean, like Skill had it when you were there, Mitch. They were that team that was like on the up as a pro connie, or I am. Remember, like when they just build that momentum. And it's like those things are cool to see. You shouldn't shut the door for those teams, but
Are we in now? All right, this is it. The quiz. The quiz master's here.
Communi-Quiz, boys, for this episode. So I am going to play, this is why it's going to suit Mitch, a clip of some commentary from a race and ask you a question about it. And you have to answer. In general, it's who the rider is and what is the race. All right? So I'm going to play the clip.
Okay.
And you guys answer.
Going above and beyond here, Tom.
First one to get it. All right? Start you off with an easy one. Remember rider and race.
Was absolutely right to attack when he did, to have the belief he did. A raiding party has come over from Italy. It's going to be their game after seeing Milan-San Remo disappear from them this year. This is going to be their own. And check this out, the man in the pink.
All right, boys, you heard it. I want the rider and the race, please.
Well, I'm going to say Giro because the last sentence is the man in the pink.
In the pink, yeah.
It's wrong.
You're barking up the wrong tree.
It's EF. Oh. And it's Bettiol. San Remo. Flanders.
Correct. That's two.
Oh, Durbo, well done.
Yeah, you were barking up the wrong tree there. Right.
I was.
Okay.
But well done. You actually did that on purpose. That was well played. Diverted us away from that.
Looks over his shoulder, Fabian Cancellara, not the position he would like to be in, but he's always going to be a marked man for this sort of thing. Around the last bends for our leading trio, and here come Katusha. Cancellara still the man pulling along. In the best position. My money's on him, if anybody.
Who is in the best position and in the final of which race?
I reckon it's San Remo, and it's Christoph coming around to do his lead out.
You got the race, but the rider, you even talked about this earlier. You talked about how Gerrans beat Cancellara and how ice cold he was. That's the exact scene. Right. It's Gerrans at San Remo. This exact moment.
I thought it was that, but I'm like,
when you said it earlier in the pod, I'm like, oh, Mitch is going to get this question so easy. He's got this one in the bag.
Damn it.
I thought, like, it can't be that. But I'm like, why would Tom edit that out? We just spoke about it like 20 minutes beforehand.
I didn't make it during the show, Durbo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, good job. So, one apiece.
So, here we go. The next one should be an easy one. All right?
Go.
Also with Cadel Evans. As we see the move from Andy Schleck, I'm glad our cameras cut back to that one, and it's not yet who's reacted. Now he has. It was Vinokurov.
Well, Vinokurov.
Oh, what's happened? His chain's off. Schleck's chain's off.
Yeah.
Well, what's his chain has jammed gone. Well, this is terrible. Well, for Schleck.
So, boys, who is being terrible here?
It's the Tour de France.
It's Tour de France, and someone's being terrible. Big scene.
Contador.
Correct. Drop chain for Andy Schleck.
Contador.
What year was that, Durbo?
2009.
Was it? One of the years.
Fuck, I'm like having a really hard go at it, and Tom doesn't even know. Anyway.
All right, boys. Next one's in.
Very slippy. A lot of riders in that group behind taking lists. Was an attack there by...
Well, the yellow jersey has obviously had a great day in his first day in the Alps here. Look at the acceleration of this as he chases down those motorbikes. 5.5 hours he's been pedaling today, marking everything, never looking distressed, and now he's going to try and tear this race apart. riding in the same mode that we're used to seeing from men like Indurain and Eddie Merckx.
I know who
That
it
was
is.
an unbelievable attack. He took a lot of risk to go up through the inside there. There was hardly any room at all. Now Alex Zülle has to respond. He realises this is a good attack by...
Yeah.
He wants to try and get up to the wheel of the American. He wants to get up there because really picked it up rapidly.
Go.
All right, boys. So I'm going to give a triple pointer on this one because it's close at the minute. It's going to be race year rider.
Oh, I think
Mitch.
it's Jan Ulrich, Tour de France. And
No.
The tour's right. That's one.
he's riding in the same fashion as Miguel Indurain.
It's I'm going to say Geraint Thomas, 2018.
Nah.
No, Alex Zülle was in the race.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that at the end.
But then he said the American, so I'm assuming like Lance was there, but Ulrich attacked him. No, it's Vino.
It's Lance in the yellow jersey,
Lance.
man. He also
It
won
is
the tour.
Lance.
Yeah, it's when he
Yeah,
attacked in 99 when he first had the yellow jersey and he smashed everyone on the outs with the big attacks.
Wow.
A long time.
I got taken away with he was riding through the motorbikes like Big Mig, and I'm thinking like, yeah, in the saddle, grinding a big one. Gotta be Jan. Jesus,
No.
we're hopeless at this.
This is, so scores are 2-3 and a lot of points being thrown around out there. So let's go to the next one, boys. This is more painful than I thought it was going to be, but go for it.
Landa, Steven Kruiswijk. 32 kilometres. Oh, here we go. What's happened here? Bike change? Real problems. And he's changing his jersey.
I know where this is.
No. Dear, oh dear.
Yeah.
Problems. And
This
I
is
wonder
easy.
if this was one of the problems before.
I've got this.
You've said that twice now. I'm going to let you just dig your own grave. So
Let's-
you go first, and then I'll
let's go,
clean
Mitch.
up the mess.
Who's the rider and what's the problem?
Tom Dumoulin taking a dump.
Yep. Well done, mate.
Did you know
Well
that?
done. No, I
Ever? Didn't you?
wouldn't have got it.
Oh, bullshit.
No, I didn't.
When you said I'll let you take it and I'll just clean up the mess, I'm like, oh, Durbo knows for sure. He's just doing
No,
a
I
shit
didn't
game.
actually know. No.
All right, boys, there's two more. Okay, this is a good one for you two. It's coming in now.
He comes into the home straight to receive the bell for 1 lap to go. He's already saluting the crowd. This has been a champion victory by a champion bike rider.
I've got to say, Phil, there is no way to win Paris-Roubaix but like this. But really is an historic move that he made, a brave move. Some would have said maybe a silly move, but it's paid this afternoon. He has dominated Paris-Roubaix and he's going to enjoy every moment of this. And I'm sure tonight he'll probably enjoy a very, very good Belgian beer.
So, lads, who is going to enjoy a very, very big Belgian beer? And we're going to let Durbs go with this one because he jumped straight on it. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, Tom Boonen.
Correct.
Solo victory when he went with like 60k to go. It wasn't 100, was it?
60k to go, was it?
60k,
Well,
56k, I think.
It was back in the day when 50k was far away. Now it's like,
Yeah.
oof, just 50. That was it. So, boys, the points are tied. This question is going to be the tiebreaker. I knew this would be the tiebreaker. Okay. I just knew
All
it.
right. 3, 2, 1, go.
He's jumping off the front of the main field. Surely he can't expect to bridge 9 minutes to the leaders on his own.
Well, it is a rather curious move. Going to get across on his own, that's for certain.
I get really struggle when they're not the commentators I listen to.
So,
Yeah.
after all those epic moments of cycling, which idiot's trying to cross a 9-minute gap? Tiebreaker.
Oh, that's
So-
got to be. That's definitely got to be Floyd Landers.
If only.
Nice.
If
Wasn't
only.
that?
Nah.
Damn it!
9 minute gap.
Was that a 9-minute gap anyway? How big was that gap? The Floyd gap.
This person's trying to go across a 9-minute gap to an established breakaway. So the break's gone. This guy's attacked the bunch solo. Try and go across.
Is it like Zabriskie?
I wish.
Give us a year.
2005.
Does he get there?
Is he fuck? It's the Tour of Britain.
God, how would we have got that?
You're looking at him.
Ah!
Did he get there?
Did he fuck? I found that
No.
I was going through some old commentary the other day and I saw that. I'm like, oh, this is the stupidest thing. I cannot, but I don't even know what. I don't even know. I had no idea. I just found this clip. It's like all the commentators going, what is this guy doing? It's like, Jesus, what was I doing? 9-minute gap. Didn't really think that one out.
So you never got there.
Didn't get there by far. Quick step with pulling on the front.
It's such a
so
short
it-
clip.
So to be honest, it's a draw, is it? And then
It's
Like,
the first ever Communi-Quiz draw.
and I'm doing the quiz like last week, like it was always planned anyway. So
And no one's bought me a beer since we started the Communi-Quiz anyway, so it's sort of a moot point.
I'll order you a case of Coopers. Send it across.
Thanks, mate. We got
All
there
right,
in the end,
boys.
lads.
good
A little
good
bit of
shot.
editing.
Boys, this has been one of my favorite communiques because we had some good chat. Loved it. So thanks, boys. Big thanks to you guys for coming on board, Matt, and also, of course, TP, Training Peaks. Pretty keen to check out the virtual. Durbo, saddle up. Get some free
Yeah,
virtual time.
Got to do 2 hours this afternoon, so I've been delaying by talking to you guys. Got to go training, do my
That's why
job.
we had to jump on late because he didn't want to get on the turbo too early. Basically, just
Too many coffees, sleeping in.
all right,
All right,
lads.
boys.
See you, boys.
See ya.
That iconic music in this episode was composed by none other than the legend Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.